Hello, everyone, and welcome to the IEEE Young Professionals webinar. Uh, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Corey Atkinson, from Dimensions of Leadership. He's a leadership and performance specialist. However, before I introduce the speaker, I have some announcements. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Matthew Carius. I am a webinar specialist with the MGA Young Professionals Committee. I am also the Vice Chair for the Toronto Young Professionals Affinity Group. And just for all of you listening, IEEE Young Professionals will be hosting monthly webinars in 2014 on effective communication and leadership and many more topics. Audience participation. During the webinar, please type any questions you have in the questions box below your screen. You can actually vote for other people's questions, and of course, the questions that gets the most votes, I will be asking first. Hopefully, all questions will be answered following the webinar during a 5-minute Q&A session. During a 5-minute Q&A session. Also, new name, new feel, new look. We were previously called Gold. We are now called the IEEE Young Professionals. IEEE Gold was not instantly recognized as a Young Professionals Affinity group. And now the new name makes it easier to find information and benefits relevant to IEEE Young Professionals. And the rebranding has tremendous success, namely networking mixers in Toronto with over 150 attendees. Also in Central Texas section mixer at the International South by Southwest Festival in March. And of course, you can see all these recent success stories on our Gold Rush blog at the URL shown below. Connect with us online, please. We have 2 other products, IEEE Mentor Center, which I'll be talking about at the end of the webinar, and Resume Lab. You can also connect and follow us online at the URL shown there and the email shown there. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We also have a LinkedIn page, and of course, all of our webinars are going to be posted on our YouTube channel shown there, IEEE Young Professionals, which you can view after the webinar. Now, to introduce today's speaker, Corey Atkinson is in fact a leadership and performance specialist. He has extensive experience in leadership, client services, and business development. He focuses on supporting others to become great at what they do. And this is a follow-up from a webinar held in May, Leadership Excellence Part 2. Corey's going to have a six-part series with us. And they all focus around on key steps to personal, team, and organization. So from that, I'm going to send it over to Corey, and thank you all for participating in this webinar. Corey?
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. And as Matthew said, today's focus for the next 20-25 minutes is on how do you lead a world-class organization? What are the steps involved in doing that? And it's not an easy one. So let me begin by first welcoming you all here. If you have a piece of paper or pen, please take your notes or your tablet, as there's quite a bit of things I'd like to share to get all of your minds thinking differently about what do we mean by leading a world-class organization. So step 1 is, of course, some perspective, some context. And that context I like to give people is in the form of a bit of a quote that I came across many years ago, and it's very timely in where we're doing. The quote is this: if you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less. And this is by General Eric Shinseki, Chief of Staff, U.S. Army, many years ago. And I thought it was interesting because that's really what leading a world-class organization is about, understanding that you have to change or else you will be left in the past, you will be left behind. So with that in mind, what we're going to look at is leading world-class organizations and what are the key steps? What are the 4 things that you should take away from that? And to make it simple for all of you, these are them. To lead a world-class organization, you have to do 3 things. 1, anticipate. That has to be on the top of the minds of not just the leaders, managers, CEOs, but as well as the performers, the employees, maybe the frontline people doing the work with the clients or customers. Then you have to communicate. You have to be able to get what's in your mind down to your mouth, across the noise and filters to that other person, and make it clear. And third, the two-step process, we must align and act. We must first get focused, much like an arrow, and then shoot so that we hit the bullseye. So with that in mind, let's take a look at how do we do these things to lead a world-class organization, or better, what are world-class organizations doing that really resonates with anticipate, articulate, align, and act. So the first one, when we start here, we start with the first one, anticipation and talking about change. And when I talk about anticipation, we really have to understand the world that we're in today and all the things that go on in our busy, hectic lives, such as global teams, health and wellness, work-life balance, organizational loyalty. These are the challenges that face leaders at all levels across all four corners of the globe. And if we're not on top of them, they will really bring us down. As you can see, even just in our entertainment world with what Netflix has brought to the table. Now, anybody can be a star. You do not have to go to Hollywood because there are so many more outlets for directors, producers, and so forth to get their ideas from idea to paper to on the little screen and maybe even the big screen. So what do organizations think about? What are the questions that they have to ask themselves to really get clear on how to move forward? So here's some of the things that I always share with my groups that I work with when I help them think about the World Wide Web of leadership, and that's this. Are our leaders doing what it takes? Do they have the capabilities? I mean, we are more stressed than we have ever before. If you've seen the Forbes results from 2012, 70% at least, I think it was actually 65% of global workers do not even enjoy going to work. So do we have the capabilities? The second part of it all, everyone, is can they do it? Can they drive a global expansion? And it doesn't have to be necessarily around the world, but even in your territory. Do they have what it takes? Third, can we get our people there? And are we ready for changes? Are we ready for curveballs as they come down the pipeline? And lastly, how do we keep people engaged and retained? How do we keep the people we need? So these are the challenges of this World Wide Web of leadership that we have to ask ourselves. And world-class organizations are always thinking about them. They're always thinking what's next. So the first place they do to anticipate is they get clear on what type of leadership they need so that they can, of course, grow and prosper. And the first one is this. Oh, there's another one there. But the first one that they think about is this. They really understand the different types of leadership that is out there. And to make it simple, from what I do in the dimensions of leadership, is we teach organizations the three key aspects of great leadership: strategic leadership, operational, and visionary. So the question I have for you as listeners today is, what's the difference between the three? How do you define strategic, operational, or visionary? Well, I've got some ideas on it, and feel free to make your notes or ask your questions. And the first one, of course, is when I say strategic, I say that's about puzzles. And can you put the puzzles together and really make things work? Your classic project management and having the vision, having the idea, but then being able to see it down the road, see it before it happens, right? You got your operational, which is where we spend a lot of time, most of us, our deadlines. We got to get things done today, yesterday, last week, 2 years from now. A lot of us live in that world. There's nothing wrong with it. It makes things get done. It helps us get things done. But of course, we could miss out on a few things. So what world-class organizations do is they make sure there's some time spent on a regular basis in the world of being visionary and seeing the networks that need to be strengthened. And I'm not talking even necessarily from an IT point of view, but even the networks of connections, much like our presentation today, where we've got people on here from around the world. That's a huge network. So when it comes to visionary leadership, world-class organizations do the math, right? They see that there's sort of like three steps. There's the organizational perspective, there's the work group, department, and then there's the individual. And they understand that different types of leadership have different types of activity, right? Level one is very observable. What is the organization doing? We make cars, we create an experience, we sell coffee. Level two is the behind the scenes, the thoughts, and somewhat sometimes observable activities, right? What are the departments doing to help them make the cars as effectively as they can? What are they doing to make sure that where the beans are harvested and are transported hundreds of miles away, thousands of miles away, so that when you and I walk into that store, we can order the coffee we want? But the part that world-class organizations do is they think about the VABs, the values, assumptions, beliefs, and expectations of the performer. It's not easily observable and only partly conscious. So world-class organizations spend a lot of time at level 3. They understand that to move things forward, it starts with these 4 things. So when we look at them, these are the lowest common denominators. See, leadership level 1, when we talk about the organization, is named for movement. We want to hit these markets. We want to tackle this project. We want to be able to get these customers. Level 2 seeks engagement. That's where we try to make sure that everybody within the organization, from the left side of the department to the right side of the department, from their offices in Canada to their offices in South Africa, are all connected and doing what they do. But the lowest common denominator is the performer. And are they being rewarded? Dan Ariely, Dan Ariely, a professor of psychology about 4 years ago, did a great TED Talk about what makes us feel good at work, and really highlights the importance of rewarding our performers. You see, and when you reward them, you tap into their values, their assumptions, their beliefs, and their expectations. And of course, this inspires greater performance and leads to enhanced customer satisfaction, both internally and externally. So where do we go from this? So how do we make this work? What are the things that we need to think about so that we can get there? I always like to say, what does a leader, he or she, have to do to guide their ship, right? What do they have to do to get where they want to go? So what world-class organizations do is they do a lot of thinking. They anticipate and they think about what's coming and where they need to be. And that's always a conversation, not just at the end of the year, but on a regular basis. And they do it in such a way that they answer a couple of big questions. Leading world-class organizations require constantly thinking differently about the performance within the organization, as much as you spend time thinking about your profits, your